What the hell is this garbage you wrote? The Chinese literature teacher, Zhao Lihua, slammed her palm against the lectern. The composition notebook in her grip tore with a sharp, ripping sound that cut through the dead silence of the classroom. 45 pairs of eyes locked onto the front of the room. No one dared breathe. Lin Xiaoman stood beside the lectern, her face flushed crimson, her lips trembling. Both hands were clamped into fists against the seams of her school uniform pants. Nothing but lies. Your dad's a cop? If your dad was really a cop, how come I've never seen him at this school, not once? Your mom wears a ratty apron selling tofu at the farmer's market every day, and you write that your father is a hero? You write that he took down drug dealers? Who do you think you're fooling? Zhao Lihua flung the shredded scraps of paper into the air. Let me tell you something, Lin Xiaoman. I despise students who lie. Kids like you are exactly the ones who need to be disciplined. The paper scraps drifted down onto Lin Xiaoman's hair, onto her shoulders. A few landed on the floor tiles at her feet. Teacher, Lin Xiaoman's voice was so small it was barely audible. I didn't lie. You didn't lie? Zhao Lihua let out a cold laugh. Then prove it. Have your father come here. Have your family's heroes show up at this school. I'd love to see what kind of police officer could possibly produce a daughter who spews nonsense like you do. Someone in the class let out a stifled snicker. Teacher, my dad, he's busy with work. Busy? Too busy to come when his daughter's getting bullied in class? Or is there just no such person at all? Zhao Lihua pulled out another sheet of composition paper, Lin Xiaoman's original draft of the essay titled My Father the Police Officer. Right there in front of everyone, she tore that one in half too and dropped it into the trash can. Rewrite it. Write about your real family. None of this fake hero nonsense. Your mother works herself to the bone selling tofu. Write about how she gets up before dawn and works until dark. Don't write about a father who doesn't exist. Lin Xiaoman kept her head down. A tear dropped onto the top of her shoe. She didn't cry out loud. She just stood there, rooted to the floor beside the lectern like a wooden post. Her desk mate, Wang Feifei, reached under the desk and tugged at the hem of her shirt, whispering, "Stop crying. After class, I'll go with you to the office to explain." But Lin Xiaoman knew explaining was useless. From 3rd grade through 6th, Zhao Lihua had never once believed a word she said. She'd asked Zhao Lihua before, "Teacher, could you help me call my dad? I'll have him come pick me up just once." Zhao Lihua had scoffed. "Go ahead and write down your dad's phone number for me." Lin Xiaoman couldn't. Her father's phone number was encrypted. She couldn't memorize it. All she knew was that every time her dad came home, it was deep in the night. Every time he left, it was before dawn. The only things he ever left behind were a pair of police boots washed so many times they'd faded to white, and a uniform folded with military precision in the closet. When she'd written that essay, she'd pieced together those scattered fragments, her dad pulling the covers over her in the middle of the night, her dad fixing her bicycle, her dad saying, "Daddy's leaving, but Daddy's hat is still here." She'd thought she'd written enough concrete details, enough truth. But Zhao Lihua said it was all made up. "Did you hear me? Rewrite it." Zhao Lihua rapped her knuckles against the lectern. "Hand it into my office before school lets out." Lin Xiaoman nodded. Her eyes were rimmed red, like they were about to bleed. She walked back to her seat, picked up the shredded scraps of paper from the floor, folded them one by one, and tucked them into the innermost pocket of her backpack. Her desk mate, Wang Feifei, handed her a tissue. She wiped her tears and said nothing. The bell rang. Zhao Lihua gathered her teaching materials and strode out of the classroom. Before she left, she threw one last comment over her shoulder. "Lin Xiaoman, if your mother knew you were spinning lies like this at school, she'd be furious enough to drop dead." Those words poured over Lin Xiaoman's head like a bucket of ice water, and they stayed there for the rest of the class period. 2nd period was math. Lin Xiaoman didn't absorb a single word. Her mind was stuck on the image of Zhao Lihua tearing up her essay, that face twisted into something grotesque, the words spilling from those lips like blades. She couldn't understand why Zhao Lihua had to insist her father was someone who didn't exist. Her father did exist. He existed in the knock on the door late at night when she was 4. He existed in the sound of hurried footsteps in the hallway on her 6th birthday. He existed in the small, folded police badge tucked under her pillow when she was 8. But she couldn't prove it. She didn't even have a photo of him. The only family photo they'd ever taken was a picture her dad had snapped on his phone before he left. That old phone was later confiscated by Zhao Lihua, who said playing with phones in class affects your studies. She didn't dare ask for it back. Wang Feifei leaned in and lowered her voice. Xiaoman, are you really going to rewrite it?
No.
Then what are you going to do when school lets out? Lin Xiaoman bit her lip. I'm not going to the office. Teacher Zhao's definitely going to come after you. Let her. Wang Feifei sighed and slid a piece of fruit candy across the desk. Here, have something sweet. Don't be too sad. Lin Xiaoman didn't take the candy. She stared out the window at the flag rippling over the school field. A thought surfaced, something her dad had told her once. If she was ever bullied at school, as long as she studied hard, he would hear about it. Thinking about it now, it sounded like something out of a fairy tale. 3rd period was PE. The teacher put her at the very back of the line. While her classmates ran laps around the field, she crouched in the corner, pulled out her backpack, and took out those shredded scraps from the deepest pocket. She tried piecing them back together, bit by bit. Halfway through, the PE teacher spotted her. Lin Xiaoman. No squatting during class. Get on the track and run. She stood up, shoved the scraps back into her bag, and obediently ran 2 laps. When she came back, Wang Feifei handed her a cup of water. Why are you trying to piece that back together? It's never going to fit again. I'm not piecing it back. I'm keeping it. Keeping it for what? Lin Xiaoman didn't answer. She was keeping it because she remembered every single word of what her dad had written in that essay. My father is a police officer. He catches bad guys. He protects people. But the person he wants to protect most is me.
She couldn't let it just disappear like that.
The final bell rang. Students filed out of the classroom one by one. Lin Xiaoman swung her backpack over her shoulders and headed for the door. She didn't go to the office. Zhao Lihua intercepted her in the hallway. Lin Xiaoman, I told you to hand in your rewritten essay after school. Where do you think you're going? Zhao Lihua slapped her folder against her palm, her other hand planted on her hip. Do you think I can't handle you? Teacher, I'll rewrite it. Lin Xiaoman kept her head down, her voice trembling. But I can't write something that isn't true. Isn't true? Your dad being a cop isn't true. It is true. Then where is he? Call him. Get him here right now. Zhao Lihua pulled out her phone and shoved it toward Lin Xiaoman. Go on. Make the call. Lin Xiaoman stared at the dial pad on the screen, her finger hovering in midair. She couldn't remember the number. The only thing she could remember was what her dad had said before he left. If anything happens, find the principal. The principal knows me. But she didn't dare go to the principal. She was afraid the principal would laugh at her the same way Zhao Lihua did. Can't dial it? That means there's no such person. Zhao Lihua snatched her phone back. Go home and tell your mother I want her here at school tomorrow. Lin Xiaoman's fists clenched so tight her nails dug into her palms. She gritted her back teeth and forced the words out one by one. My father's name is Lin Zhengwo. He's the captain of the city's narcotics enforcement unit. He's on assignment. He'll come back. Zhao Lihua froze for 2 seconds, then burst out laughing. Captain of the narcotics unit? Lin Xiaoman, you're a better storyteller than I am. Do you have any idea what rank that is? If you really had a father who was a unit captain, would you be wearing a school uniform like that? Would you be eating the cheapest meal deal in the cafeteria every single day? She bent down and jabbed a finger at the logo on Lin Xiaoman's uniform. The stitching's coming apart on this thing. If your dad were a captain, he'd have bought you a new uniform a long time ago. A few students passing by slowed their steps. Whispering started to ripple through the hallway. Lin Xiaoman's face burned like it had caught fire. All right, stop making a spectacle of yourself here.
Go home.
And tell your mother to come see me tomorrow. Zhao Lihua waved her hand dismissively and turned back toward the office. Lin Xiaoman stood alone in the hallway. The late afternoon sun slanted through the window, stretching her shadow long and thin across the floor. She looked up at the tangerine-colored clouds gathering on the horizon. Her chest felt so tight, she could barely breathe. She remembered the last thing her father had said before he left. Xiaoman, Daddy's going to complete one final mission. When I come back, I'll never leave again. She'd been waiting for 3 years. In 3 years, she hadn't seen her father's face once. She didn't know if he was alive or dead. No one told her. Every time her mother mentioned him, her eyes would go red, but she never gave any details. All Lin Xiaoman knew was that her father had left her a hat, a police badge pinned to its brim. That hat was hidden on the top shelf of the wardrobe at home. Every night, she would sneak it out, hold it in her arms, and fall asleep with it pressed against her chest. When Lin Xiaoman got home, her mother was in the kitchen, chopping tofu. Mom, something happened at school today. Qin Huilan, her mother, lifted her head and wiped the sweat from her forehead. What happened? The teacher wants you to come in tomorrow. Qin Huilan's chopping hand paused mid-motion. Why? She tore up my essay. Qin Huilan set the cleaver down and turned around to face her daughter. She tore up your essay? She said I was making things up. She said Dad isn't a cop. The color drained from Qin Huilan's face in an instant. She stood silent for a few seconds, then picked up the cleaver again and resumed chopping. Bang, 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 the sound twice as loud as before. Mom, are you going tomorrow? Yes. Qin Huilan didn't say anything else. At dinner, Lin Xiaoman barely ate. She just stared blankly at the bowl of tofu soup. Qin Huilan picked up some shredded pork with her chopsticks and dropped it into her daughter's bowl.
Eat.
Don't overthink it. Mom, where is Dad, really? Qin Huilan's chopsticks stopped in midair. Her lips moved, but in the end, only 3 words came out. On assignment. It's been 3 years. 3 years or not. We have to wait. Lin Xiaoman lowered her head, finished the rice in her bowl, and stood up to wash the dishes. The faucet ran with a loud rush. As she scrubbed, she wiped away tears. The teardrops fell into the sink and mixed with the grease. That night, she tossed and turned, unable to sleep. She stood on a chair and retrieved the old police hat from the top shelf of the wardrobe. The brim was a little worn, but the badge was polished to a bright shine. She put the hat on her head. It was far too big and slid all the way down to the bridge of her nose. Holding the brim in place with one hand, she faced the mirror and raised a salute. The girl in the mirror was small and skinny, dressed in faded pajamas, the oversized hat sitting crooked on her head. She looked almost comical, but her salute was steady, her fingertips pressed firmly to her temple, every bit the picture of discipline. Dad, Mom's going to school tomorrow. Teacher Zhao probably won't say anything after that. She lowered her hand, took off the hat, and curled up under the covers with it clutched to her chest. The scent on the fabric had faded long ago, but she still brought it close to her nose and breathed in, as if nothing had changed. The next morning, Qin Huilan put on her one and only gray coat and wheeled out the battered 3-wheeled cart. Lin Xiaoman sat in the back, gripping the straps of her backpack. Neither of them spoke on the way. When they reached the school gate, Qin Huilan parked the cart and patted Lin Xiaoman on the back. You go in first. I'll head to the office and talk to your teacher. Mom, I'm coming with you. Go to class. I'll handle this myself. Lin Xiaoman refused. She grabbed her mother's sleeve. I want to go. Qin Huilan looked at her, didn't argue, and just sighed.
Fine.
Let's go. Mother and daughter walked into the school building one after the other. In the hallway, they came face to face with Zhao Lihua. Zhao Lihua was walking out with her thermos in hand. When she saw Qin Huilan, her expression shifted from surprise to scrutiny. You're Lin Xiaoman's mother? Yes. Qin Huilan nodded. Teacher Zhao, I heard you tore up my daughter's essay. Zhao Lihua blinked, clearly not expecting Qin Huilan to be so direct. She rearranged her features into her teacher persona. Mrs. Qin, here's the situation. Your daughter wrote an essay claiming her father is a police officer. But we both know that's not true, correct? Her father is a police officer. Zhao Lihua frowned. Mrs. Qin, you can't lie like this in front of your child. Children absorb everything. If she grows up spewing falsehoods, it will do her no good in the future. Her father really is a police officer. Then where is he? Qin Huilan went quiet for 2 seconds. Standing behind her, Lin Xiaoman could see her mother's back trembling ever so slightly. He's on assignment. On assignment? Zhao Lihua let out a short laugh. Mrs. Qin, just tell me the truth. Is your daughter fatherless? Did her dad run off? If you're honest with me, I won't blame the child. I can even arrange for her to see the school counselor. But if you keep covering for her like this, you're only hurting her. Qin Huilan's eyes went red. But she didn't cry. Teacher Zhao, my husband's surname is Lin. His full name is Lin Jiangwo. He is the captain of the city's narcotics enforcement unit. He went missing while on assignment 3 years ago, and his whereabouts remain unknown to this day. She pronounced each word slowly and deliberately. I am not lying, and neither is my daughter. The sneer on Zhao Lihua's face froze, replaced by a look of blank confusion. Several other homeroom teachers happened to be walking down the hallway. A few stopped and turned their heads toward the scene. Missing? What's his name? Which unit? City Narcotics Enforcement. Lin Jiangwo. Zhao Lihua's mouth opened and closed. Her brow furrowed. Something didn't add up. If Lin Xiaoman's father really was with the narcotics unit, there was no way she wouldn't have heard about it. Plenty of police families were part of this school's parent network, and she had never once heard the name Lin Jiangwo. I don't believe it, Zhao Lihua said. If you really know someone in the narcotics unit, have him call me to verify. I can't make that call. You can't? Then go to his unit yourself, and have one of his colleagues come here. Qin Huilan's hands twisted the hem of her jacket. Her knuckles were bone white. She glanced at Lin Xiaoman, and a glimmer of tears flickered in her eyes before she blinked it away. I contacted the unit. They said they can't disclose anything at this time. Zhao Lihua laughed outright. Mrs. Qin, you're even better at spinning stories than your daughter. All right, let's get down to business. Your daughter fabricated lies in her essay. I cannot allow her to continue like this. Either you make her rewrite it, or I'll have to follow school regulations and issue a formal demerit. Standing behind Qin Huilan, Lin Xiaoman's fists were clenched so tight they shook. She wanted to lunge forward and shout, "My father is a police officer," but her throat felt like something had sealed it shut. Qin Huilan was summoned to the principal's office. The principal's name was Qian Xingyan. He was in his mid-50s, balding, with a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. He sat behind his desk, hands folded on the surface. His tone was polite enough, but his message was unmistakable. Mrs. Qin, Teacher Zhao has brought this to my attention multiple times. Your child has been fabricating her father's identity in her compositions. Once or twice might be understandable, but repeated incidents are detrimental to her character development. Our school is placing significant emphasis on moral education right now, and we hope parents will cooperate. Qin Huilan stood in front of the desk. Lin Xiaoman stood beside her. Principal, my husband really is a police officer. Do you have proof? Qin Huilan reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. She unfolded it and placed it on the desk. It was an old police family liaison card, with Lin Jiangwo's name, title, and contact information printed on it. The paper was yellowed and fraying at the edges. Principal Qian picked up the card and studied it carefully. His brow furrowed slightly. This is from 3 years ago? Yes. A 3-year-old liaison card. How am I supposed to trust this? You can call the municipal bureau to verify. Principal Qian pushed his glasses up, picked up the phone, and dialed a number. Qin Huilan stood there, her heart pounding. The call connected. Principal Qian exchanged a few words. The person on the other end seemed to check something. Then Principal Qian's expression shifted. Once, then twice. What did you say? No such person on record. Qin Huilan's body swayed. I'm sorry, the number you provided is an old one. It's been deactivated. Principal Qian set the phone down. His tone turned cold. Mrs. Qin, we understand your difficulties, but a child cannot be allowed to use something like this in her schoolwork. Have Lin Xiaoman rewrite the essay based on her actual circumstances, and I won't pursue this further. She wrote about her actual circumstances. Mrs. Qin, the principal's voice sharpened. Don't make me spell it out. I just checked. The number you gave me isn't even an official police line. It's a standard civilian number. And this Lin Zhengwo you mentioned, I had someone run a search in the bureau system. There is no registered individual under that name. What do you expect me to believe? Qin Huilan's face went ashen. Her lips were so dry they looked ready to crack. She opened her mouth several times before she managed to force out a sentence. He was undercover. His information might have been sealed. Principal Qian took off his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. Mrs. Qin, you've been watching too many TV dramas. Undercover? What do you think this is? Some kind of cop thriller. Qin Huilan's hands were shaking. Standing to the side, Lin Xiaoman felt something hollow her out the moment she heard the words, no such person. She'd always believed her father was a police officer. Her mother told her he was. Her father himself had told her. And yet now, Zhao Lihua stood at the doorway, arms crossed, a cold smirk tugging at the corner of her mouth. She chose that moment to speak. Principal, I recommend the child undergo a psychological evaluation. She's likely been starved of a father figure from a young age, leading to compensatory fantasies. She's fabricating a heroic father to fill an emotional void. I do not consent to that. Qin Huilan's head snapped up. My daughter is not sick. Mrs. Qin, you need to cooperate with the school on this. Principal Qian stood up. Here's what we'll do. We won't issue a demerit for now, but the assignment must be rewritten. Additionally, I strongly suggest you take your child to the counseling office. Let's hear a professional opinion. Lin Xiaoman suddenly spoke. Principal, can I say something? Principal Qian looked at her. Go ahead. My father's hat has a police badge on it. On the back of that badge, there's a serial number. That number is 081234. I've memorized it for 3 years. I recite it every single night before I go to sleep. The office went dead silent. The smirk on Zhao Lihua's face congealed. Principal Qian's expression shifted from impatience to suspicion. A badge serial number. That was indeed how police equipment was marked. A 10-year-old child. Could she really fabricate a detail like that? Recite it for me, Principal Qian said. 0,
8, 1, 2,
3, 4. Lin Xiaoman pronounced each digit slowly and clearly. He said that's his badge number. He said this number never changes. Principal Qian sat motionless for a few seconds, then picked up the phone again. This time, he dialed the personnel division at the municipal bureau directly and asked them to run a check on the number 081234. He waited for 2 minutes. The person on the other end said something. Principal Qian's face went pale. He pressed the receiver hard against his ear. Sweat beaded on his forehead. His voice dropped to a near whisper. Say that again? Who? Lin Zhengwo, Deputy Unit Captain. Killed in the line of duty. 3 years ago. Classified. The phone slipped from his hand and clattered onto the desk. The receiver bounced off the surface with a hollow buzz. The room fell so silent the only sound was the hum of the air conditioner. Zhao Lihua's face went white. Qin Huilan stared at Principal Qian. Her tears finally fell. Lin Xiaoman saw her mother crying and began to cry too, but silently. Just 2 streaks of tears sliding down her cheeks and soaking into her collar. Principal Qian took a full 10 seconds to compose himself before he picked up the receiver again. He spoke a few more words into the phone, his voice growing quieter and more deferential with each syllable. Finally, he hung up. He lifted his head and looked at Qin Huilan. Behind his glasses, his eyes had completely changed. Mrs. Qin, Principal Qian's voice trembled. Just now, the Municipal Bureau confirmed. Badge number 081234 belonged to Comrade Lin Zhengwo. 3 years ago, during an operation near the border, he was killed in the line of duty. Due to confidentiality requirements, his family's information remained sealed. It was only recently declassified. Qin Huilan's knees buckled. She stumbled backward a step. Lin Xiaoman rushed to steady her. "Mom." Tears streamed uncontrollably down Qin Huilan's face, but through it all, the corner of her mouth struggled upward into something that almost resembled a smile. She wrapped her arms around Lin Xiaoman's shoulders. Her voice came out raw and hoarse. "Xiaoman, Mom didn't lie to you, did she? Your father really was a police officer." Zhao Lihua stood frozen at the office doorway, her face as white as a sheet of paper. She had said no such person. She had said spewing nonsense. She had torn up that child's essay in front of the entire class. And now she remembered the line written on that composition paper. "My father is a police officer. He catches bad guys. He protects people. But the person he wants to protect most is me." She had torn those words apart. She had torn them apart in front of everyone. Principal Qian looked down at the pile of shredded paper, then turned his gaze toward Zhao Lihua. "Teacher Zhao Yu, you tore up that essay?" Zhao Lihua's hands were shaking. I didn't know. Principal, I didn't know her father really. You think I didn't know fixes this?" Principal Qian's voice finally rose. "You tore up a martyred officer's daughter's eulogy to her own father. Do you realize that child hasn't seen her father in 3 years? Do you realize her mother couldn't bring herself to tell her the truth? You tore up her hope." Zhao Lihua stumbled backward 2 steps. Her back hit the doorframe of the office with a dull thud. Lin Xiaoman stood supporting her mother. Neither of them looked at Zhao Lihua. Lin Xiaoman just kept her head lowered, staring at the dust on the tops of her shoes, perfectly still and quiet. She had known. She had known for a long time that her father probably wasn't coming back. In 3 years, no one had come to see her. No one had called. Every time her mother mentioned her dad, she cried. Lin Xiaoman wasn't stupid. Every night she fell asleep holding that hat. She understood deep down. But she was unwilling to say it out loud. She wanted to believe her dad was on assignment. As long as she wrote that essay, as long as she wrote "My father the police officer," her dad was still alive, still standing guard beside her. And now someone had torn it up in front of the entire class. Someone had said, behind her back, that he was a person who doesn't exist. Zhao Lihua's lips quivered violently. She wanted to say she was sorry, but her throat felt like it was stuffed with cotton. Her pride and her prejudice twisted together, sealing her mouth shut. Principal Qian looked at her coldly. "Teacher Zhao, wait here. The Bureau just informed me that Comrade Lin Zhengwo's comrades will be arriving shortly. That essay you tore up, there will be an accounting for it." Zhao Lihua's head dropped. Principal Qian turned back to Qin Huilan.
His voice softened.
"Mrs. Qin, on behalf of the school, I apologize to you and to your child. The essay Lin Xiaoman wrote will be reevaluated by the school and archived as an exemplary piece of student work. You've endured so much." Qin Huilan shook her head. Her tears were still falling, but her voice had steadied. "I haven't endured anything. The one who's endured everything is Xiaoman. She waits for her father to come home every single day. She keeps that hat on her headboard. Every day, she polishes that badge. Principal, you said what she wrote was fake. But every word in that essay was true." Principal Qian's eyes rimmed red. Lin Xiaoman still hadn't spoken. She stood quietly beside her mother, watching through the office window as the leaves of the old sycamore tree outside were carried away by the wind, one after another. She knew her father was never coming home, but he had left her a badge, a serial number, and a name that could never be erased. At noon, a black SUV pulled up to the school gate. It stopped in front of the administration building. The doors opened, and 3 men in police uniforms stepped out. The man in the lead was in his early 40s, solidly built, with a square jaw. The silver stars on his epaulets glinted in the midday sun. 2 younger officers followed close behind him, their expressions solemn. In the hallway, a few students on break poked their heads out to look. Someone let out a hushed whoa. Principal Qian had been notified. He ran straight down from his office, his leather shoes slapping against the marble floor. From a distance, he spotted the 3 sets of epaulets, and his pace quickened even more. Hello. I'm Principal Qian. He extended his hand, his voice tight with nerves. The lead officer gripped his hand firmly. My name is Chun Lijun, deputy captain of the City Narcotics Enforcement Unit. Lin Jiangwo was my senior and my brother-in-arms. Principal Qian's palm was slick with sweat. Captain Chun, please come upstairs. Chun Lijun didn't move. He scanned the surroundings, and his eyes finally settled on a classroom door at the far end of the corridor. Is that the class? Lin Xiaoman's class. Yes, class 3, 5th grade. Are they here? Yes. Mrs. Qin and her daughter are both here. Chun Lijun started walking. His stride was long and purposeful. The 2 younger officers fell in behind him. Principal Qian practically jogged to keep up, following them all the way to the 3rd floor. The door to class 3 was open. Lin Xiaoman sat in her seat, staring blankly at nothing. Qin Huilan stood next to her. Zhao Lihua was outside in the hallway, her back pressed against the wall, her face drained of all color. The moment Chun Lijun stepped into the classroom, the entire class fell silent. Every student looked up at the stranger in the police uniform. His epaulets gleamed as he moved through the rows of desks. Chun Lijun glanced at the lectern, then walked directly to Lin Xiaoman's seat. He crouched until he was exactly eye level with her. Are you Xiaoman? Lin Xiaoman nodded. I was your father's comrade. My name is Chun Lijun. Lin Xiaoman's lips moved. She studied Chun Lijun's face, and suddenly she remembered something her dad had told her once. I've got a brother. His nickname is Iron Bull Chun. He never has to throw a punch in a fight, just one glare from him, and people run. She smiled. Uncle Chun, my dad said your nickname is Iron Bull Chun. Chun Lijun's eyes instantly reddened. He raised a hand and rubbed the corner of his eye. Then he drew a deep breath. His voice came out rough and gravelly. Your dad was right. He was my closest brother. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a silver police badge. He placed it in the palm of Lin Xiaoman's hand. The badge was identical to the one on the hat she kept hidden at home. The serial number was the same, but this badge was new, polished to a mirror shine, as if it had just left the factory. This is the badge your father left with me before he deployed. He said he'd come back for it. He asked me to hold on to it for him. Chun Lijun's Adam's apple bobbed. Later, he didn't come back. Lin Xiaoman closed her fingers around the badge and held it tight. She didn't cry. She just pressed it against her chest, right over the spot where her heart was beating. The classroom was completely still. In the back row, Wang Feifei surreptitiously wiped away a tear. Qin Huilan stood to the side. She placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder and said nothing at all. Chun Lijun rose to his feet. He turned around, and his gaze finally landed on Zhao Lihua in the hallway. When his eyes locked onto her, Zhao Lihua felt like she'd been pinned in place by an invisible force. Chun Lijun didn't speak. He just looked at her. Zhao Lihua's lips began to tremble. She wanted to say something, an explanation, an apology, a deflection, but those eyes made it impossible to utter a single word. You're the teacher, Chun Lijun said. His tone wasn't loud, but each word landed like a block of iron hitting the floor. You're the one who tore up Lin Xiaoman's essay? Zhao Lihua nodded. Do you know what that essay was? Zhao Lihua's voice was thinner than a mosquito's whine. I didn't know. You didn't know? Then let me tell you. Chun Lijun stepped forward until there was less than 3 feet between them. That essay was something Lin Xiaoman wrote over the course of 3 years. Every single sentence was her way of expressing how much she missed her father. Her father gave his life in the line of duty when she was 9 years old, just starting 3rd grade. For 3 years, her mother kept it from her, couldn't bring herself to say the word killed. She only told her he was on assignment. So she wrote an essay. She poured every ounce of longing in her heart into that essay. And you tore it up. In the hallway, teachers from other offices were poking their heads out their doors. Several stood frozen in their doorways, watching the scene unfold with stunned expressions. Zhao Lihua's face had lost every last trace of color. Beads of sweat dotted her forehead. She shuffled backward half a step and leaned against the wall for support. I apologize. Does an apology fix this? Chun Li-jun's voice finally rose. You tore up her essay in front of 45 students. You told her, in front of all those children, that she had no father. You made a fatherless child endure ridicule from her classmates. You made her out to be a liar. You can stand here for the rest of the day, but can you bring back all the tears she's cried over the last 3 years? Zhao Lihua's tears burst forth. She covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders heaved violently. Principal Qian stood off to the side, rubbing his hands together incessantly. Captain Chun, I assure you, the school will handle this matter with the utmost severity. Chun Li-jun turned his head and looked at Principal Qian. Principal Qian immediately fell silent. Principal Qian, I didn't come here to make a scene. I came to pick up my fallen comrade's daughter from school and, while I was here, to deliver the truth to her homeroom teacher. Chun Li-jun's voice moderated slightly. As for your school's moral education efforts, I think they could use some re-examination. Principal Qian's face flushed deep red. He nodded repeatedly. Yes, of course. Chun Li-jun led Lin Xiaoman out of the classroom. Qin Huilan followed behind. The new badge was still clutched tightly in Lin Xiaoman's hand. As they passed through the main entrance of the school building, the old security guard rose from his chair. He glanced at the epaulets on the uniform and, without a word, raised his hand in a silent salute. Chun Li-jun nodded in acknowledgement, but didn't stop walking. The three of them reached the black SUV parked in the lot. Chun Li-jun pulled open the rear door. Xiaoman, get in. Uncle Chun will take you home. Lin Xiaoman stood at the open door and looked up at him. Uncle Chun, my dad, when he died, did it hurt? Chun Li-jun's hand froze on the door handle. The veins on the back of his hand stood out. He was silent for a long moment. No, his voice was very low. He was at the front of the operation. Everything went according to plan. It was peaceful. Lin Xiaoman nodded. She didn't press further. She climbed into the back seat. Qin Huilan sat down beside her. Chun Li-jun walked around to the driver's side and started the engine. As the car pulled away, Lin Xiaoman caught sight of Principal Qian and Zhao Lihua standing at the entrance of the school building through the rearview mirror. Principal Qian was saying something. Zhao Lihua's head was lowered. Her shoulders were still shaking. She didn't look for long. She shifted her gaze forward. They had just cleared an intersection when Qin Huilan suddenly took Lin Xiaoman's hand. Xiaoman, your father left something for me to give you. What is it? Qin Huilan reached into the inner pocket of her coat and pulled out a letter. The envelope was yellowed with age. A tiny police badge sticker sealed the flap. The handwriting on the front was neat and careful, to Lin Xiaoman, to be opened by her personally. This letter, your father left it with me before he went away. He told me to give it to you when the time was right. Qin Huilan placed the letter in Lin Xiaoman's hands. Today, I think that time has come. Lin Xiaoman took the letter. The envelope wasn't sealed shut, just tucked closed. She slid the pages out. 2 sheets of paper, covered in strong, unrushed handwriting. Asterisk, Xiaoman, when I'm writing this letter to you, I've just come out of a meeting. There were a lot of people in the room. Everyone looked pretty serious. Daddy was actually really nervous, but your mom always says, men don't get scared. Asterisk. Lin Xiaoman's eyes stung the moment she read the first line. Asterisk, Daddy's job is very special. I can't be with you every day. Your mom raises you all by herself, and it's really hard on her. You have to listen to your mom. Every day, Daddy thinks about whether you've grown taller, whether you've grown stronger. Those new shoes I bought you last time I was home, they're definitely too small by now. Daddy's making a note to get you a bigger pair next time. Asterisk. Asterisk, Daddy knows he might not come back. I've thought about that might for a long time, more than 1,000 times. But Daddy made you a promise, and Daddy never lies to you. Daddy's a police officer. Police officers don't lie. So, I'm going to be honest with you. Daddy's work is dangerous. But if Daddy quits, then maybe some other kid won't have a dad anymore. Asterisk. Asterisk, Xiaoman, you are Daddy's proudest achievement. Every time you bring home an award certificate, Daddy is so happy, he can't sleep all night. Your homeroom teacher, Teacher Zhao, if you're reading this letter, you probably already know about Daddy by now. If Teacher Zhao was ever mean to you before, Daddy hopes you won't hate her. She just didn't know. Asterisk. Lin Xiaoman's tears finally spilled over. Her hands, holding the letter, were shaking. A tear dropped onto the paper and blurred the two characters for Teacher Zhao. Qin Huilan reached over and wiped her daughter's face. Don't cry. When your dad wrote this letter, he said something special. He said when you cry, he can see it. Lin Xiaoman wiped her eyes and kept reading. Asterisk, Daddy left you a hat. That hat is the one I wore on my very first patrol. The badge on the brim has Daddy's serial number on it. When you grow up, if you want to be a police officer, that hat is your starting point. If you don't want to be a police officer, then that badge is the good luck charm your dad left for you. Asterisk. Asterisk, Daddy doesn't need you to become a police officer. The only thing Daddy needs you to be is an honest person. Say what you mean. If you make a promise, you keep it. Asterisk. The last line read, Asterisk, Daddy will be waiting for you on assignment. When you grow up, Daddy will still be watching over you. Asterisk. Lin Xiaoman pressed the letter against her chest and held it there, hugging it tight, as if she were holding onto someone she couldn't see. The SUV drove for 15 minutes before pulling up in front of an aging apartment building. Chun Lijun got out and opened the door for them. He bent down and said to Lin Xiaoman, Xiaoman, do you still have that hat your dad left you?
Yes.
I wear it every night. Then keep wearing it. If anyone ever bullies you again, you tell them this. The daughter of Comrade Lin Zhengwo has her father's badge backing her up. Chun Lijun straightened up and patted the roof of the car. Uncle has to go now. If you ever need anything, call anytime. He handed over a business card with a single phone number printed on it. Qin Huilan took it and nodded. Chun Lijun climbed back into the SUV. It turned out of the complex and disappeared down the street. The next morning, before Lin Xiaoman even stepped into the classroom, she saw a stack of things sitting on her desk. A brand new composition notebook with a fresh craft paper cover. On top of it was a note, the handwriting neat but unsteady. Asterisk Lin Xiaoman, I'm sorry. Zhao Lihua. Asterisk. Beneath the notebook was a handwritten apology letter, nearly 2 pages long. One sentence in the letter had been crossed out and rewritten 3 times. Asterisk, I shouldn't have torn up your essay. Just because you didn't know who your father was doesn't mean he didn't exist. I did the worst possible thing to you. I have no right to ask for your forgiveness. But I will change. Asterisk. Lin Xiaoman unfolded the letter, read it all the way through, and then folded it back up and placed it carefully in the inner pocket of her backpack. Her desk mate Wang Feifei leaned over. Xiaoman, Teacher Zhao didn't come in today. I heard she was called to the Education Bureau for a meeting.
Oh.
Do you hate her? Lin Xiaoman thought for a moment. My dad said not to hate her. Wang Feifei opened her mouth, then closed it again without asking anything else. First period was language arts. The substitute teacher was a new teacher named Miss Li. She walked to the lectern and the first thing she said was, Today we're going to start by reading an exemplary essay. She picked up a printed sheet and began to read aloud. As Lin Xiaoman listened, she suddenly froze. It was her essay, My Father the Police Officer, reprinted on crisp white paper with the byline at the bottom. Lin Xiaoman, Class 3, 5th grade. Miss Li finished reading. The classroom was completely silent. Miss Lee held up the printed sheet. The reason this essay was selected as exemplary work is that every single word in it is true. The author's father was a people's police officer who gave his life in the line of duty. The author used plain, simple language to express her longing for her father. That kind of sincerity carries more weight than any amount of flowery rhetoric. A boy in the back row raised his hand. Miss Lee, is Lin Xiaoman's dad really a cop? Miss Lee looked at the boy.
Yes.
And he was in the narcotics enforcement unit. He was awarded a first-class merit citation. The boy lowered his hand. His mouth moved, but nothing came out. Everyone in the class turned around to look at Lin Xiaoman. Lin Xiaoman sat in her seat, the tips of her ears burning red. She kept her head down, staring at the surface of her desk. She didn't look up. She didn't need anyone's gaze. She just sat there as she always did, quiet and still, listening to the lesson. After class, Miss Lee walked over to her and said gently, "Xiaoman, if you ever want to talk about your father, I'm here anytime." Lin Xiaoman nodded. "Thank you, Miss Lee." Before school let out that afternoon, Principal Qian Xingnian made a brief announcement over the campus PA system. He didn't name any names, but the entire school knew exactly who he was talking about. Recently, an individual teacher at our school exhibited seriously inappropriate conduct in handling a student's composition. The school has initiated accountability proceedings. We will take this as a lesson and comprehensively strengthen the development of teacher ethics and professional conduct. To the father of student Lin Xiaoman, a glorious people's police officer, we extend our most profound respect. The broadcast echoed through the hallways. Lin Xiaoman was packing her bag to go home. When she heard those words, her footsteps slowed, just for a beat. But she didn't stop walking. She stepped out of the school gate. The sunlight fell on her. She looked up at the sky. It was very blue that day, the clouds very light. She slipped her hand into her pocket and felt the new badge Uncle Chen had given her. Her fingertips traced the raised digits of the serial number. A quiet calm washed over her. Not sadness, not happiness, but a deep steadiness she hadn't felt in a very long time. She thought of the last line of her father's letter. Daddy will be waiting for you on assignment. When you grow up, Daddy will still be watching over you. She lowered her head. The corner of her mouth lifted, just barely. That night, Lin Xiaoman sat at her desk and wrote a new essay. She wrote slowly, pressing each character into the page with deliberate force, afraid that one wrong stroke would mean starting over. She thought about the title for a long time. In the end, she wrote 4 simple words. My father. She wrote about her dad's hat. She wrote about the serial number on the badge. She wrote about the bicycle he fixed for her before he left, the one still locked up downstairs. She wrote about the last thing her dad ever said to her. Xiaoman, Daddy's leaving now. Don't cry. Daddy will be back soon. She wrote the final line, set down her pen, closed the notebook, and hugged it to her chest. Qin Huilan walked in carrying a glass of warm milk. She saw her daughter holding the notebook like that and said nothing. She just placed the milk on the desk and stroked Lin Xiaoman's hair. Mom, Uncle Chen said the badge he gave me is new. What happened to the old badge on the hat? The old badge went with your father. Qin Huilan's voice wavered, then steadied. It went with him to complete the mission. Lin Xiaoman nodded. She placed the new badge next to the old hat on her nightstand. She slept soundly that night. She dreamed her father was standing in a field of brilliant light, wearing that faded white uniform, waving at her. She ran toward him, but his figure kept getting farther and farther away, until finally it transformed into the shape of a police badge, floating above her head, gleaming like a star. When she woke up, there were 2 damp spots on her pillow. She wiped her face, got up, folded her blanket, put on the old hat, and faced the mirror to salute. Dad, I got a 95 on my math test today. That's 10 points higher than yesterday. She spoke to her reflection. The girl in the mirror was skinny, her eyes bright, the brim of the hat resting just above her brows. She smiled. Monday, the following week. Morning self-study. Lin Xiaoman had barely sat down when she noticed the homeroom teacher's desk was occupied by someone else. Zhao Lihua was gone. The new homeroom teacher was Miss Li. She didn't ask any questions. First period was a class meeting. Miss Li stood at the lectern and cleared her throat. Today, we have a special activity. The school has decided to include Lin Xiaoman's essay in the official school journal as part of our moral education curriculum. Additionally, next Friday, the school will hold a themed event called Speak the Truth, See the True Heart. Lin Xiaoman will be invited as a representative to come on stage and read her essay aloud. Applause filled the classroom. Lin Xiaoman's cheeks flushed slightly. She stood up and bowed to Miss Li. "Thank you, teacher." "Don't thank me. Thank your father," Miss Li said with a smile. Lin Xiaoman sat back down. Wang Feifei whispered beside her. "Xiaoman, are you nervous about going on stage?"
No.
"Why not?" Lin Xiaoman thought about it, then said, "Because my dad said police officers don't lie. Everything I wrote is true. Why would I be nervous about telling the truth?" Wang Feifei blinked twice, then shot her a thumbs up. Respect. That afternoon, on her way home, Lin Xiaoman passed the little snack shop by the school gate. The owner, Auntie Lu, called out to her. "Xiaoman, you've got a package." The package wasn't big. It was wrapped in brown paper with a shipping label that read, "Sender, City Narcotics Enforcement Unit." Lin Xiaoman tore it open. Inside was a brand new hardcover notebook, the cover printed with a simple line drawing of a police badge. Tucked into the first page was a sticky note in handwriting she now recognized, Chun Li Jun's. Xiaoman, this was your father's notebook. He told me to wait until you were in 5th grade to give it to you. There's a lot written inside. Read it when you're ready. Lin Xiaoman opened the notebook. The first page was in her father's handwriting, dated an autumn 6 years ago. Today was Xiaoman's first day of kindergarten. She cried the whole way there. I carried her to the gate. She wrapped her arms around my leg and wouldn't let go. I told her, "Daddy will pick you up after work." She said, "Daddy always lies. Daddy lies every time." I said, "Daddy doesn't lie. Daddy's a police officer." She wiped her tears and said, "Then you have to keep your word, Daddy." Lin Xiaoman turned to the second page, the third, the fourth. The further she went, the more worn the corners, the denser the handwriting. Every page was a date, a passage. Most of them were about her. She hadn't known. Her father had been writing for years. Writing about the first time she put on her own shoes. Writing about the time she recited the Tang Dynasty poem wrong and said, "The moonlight has a moon in front of the bed." Writing about her birthday when he secretly bought the Mickey Mouse backpack she wanted and hid it behind the door. Writing about the time she ranked first in the class and he filled 3 whole pages in his diary. The handwriting on the final pages was a bit messy, as if they'd been written in a rush. The mission order came down. Wheels up at 3 a.m. Xiaoman is still asleep. I looked at her. She's sleeping so peacefully. I touched her hair. She turned over and mumbled, "Daddy, come home soon." I didn't answer. I can't lie to her anymore. This time I go, I might not come back. But I don't regret it. Lin Xiaoman crouched on the curb, clutching the notebook. Her eyes were so red they looked like she'd been up all night. The classmates walking by didn't dare disturb her. Holding that thick notebook, she suddenly felt like her father was standing right beside her, still wearing that white uniform, bending down to look at her. "Dad," she whispered to herself. "You kept your word. You didn't lie to me." She hugged the notebook to her chest, stood up, brushed the dust off her pants, and walked with long strides toward home. At the mouth of the alley, the old ginkgo tree was shedding its leaves. Golden fans blanketed the ground. The setting sun stretched her shadow long and thin behind her, as if there were a grown man standing at her back, holding up the sky. Friday. The school auditorium was packed. Students from all 12 5th and 6th grade classes were there. On the stage sat a single table and a microphone stand. The banner across the back of the stage read, in 8 large characters, "Speak the truth, see the true heart." Lin Xiaoman stood backstage, gripping the printed copy of her essay in her hand. Qin Huilan was seated in the parent section of the audience. Next to her was an empty seat. Chen Lijun had said he'd come, but there was no sign of him yet. The MC read the transition lines, then announced, "Now let's welcome Lin Xiaoman from Class 3, 5th grade, as she reads us the essay she wrote for her father, my father the police officer, *." The auditorium hushed. A wave of applause followed. Lin Xiaoman walked onto the stage, not too fast, not too slow. She stood in front of the microphone, unfolded the printed sheet, glanced down at it, then lifted her head. The microphone emitted a faint hum. She didn't look at the paper. She had memorized every word on it 100 times over, but she didn't recite a single one of those sentences. She just looked out at the sea of faces in the audience. She saw her mother in the second row, eyes already rimmed red. She saw Wang Feifei waving at her from the back. She saw a few teachers in the corner quietly lifting their heads. "Hello, everyone. I'm Lin Xiaoman from Class 3, 5th grade. My father's name is Lin Zhengwo. He was a police officer with the City Narcotics Enforcement Unit. When I was 9 years old, he was killed in the line of duty. He died catching bad people. When my mom finally told me, that was when I understood. The day he left home, he never planned on coming back alive." The auditorium was so quiet you could hear people breathing. Before he left, he wrote me a letter and a whole notebook. In the letter, he said he thought about me every single day, but he had to do his job. He said police officers don't lie, and he kept every single promise he ever made to me. He said he'd come back once the mission was complete, and he kept that promise too. He didn't come back, but he's always watching me. One by one, eyes in the audience grew red. Lin Xiaoman's voice was steady, like her father was standing behind her with his hand on her shoulder. "I used to hate Teacher Zhao. She tore up my essay. She said I was lying. I really did hate her back then. But in his letter, my dad said I shouldn't hate her. He said she just didn't know. I thought about it later. Hating someone is exhausting. My dad's work was already exhausting enough. I can't be exhausted for him too." Zhao Lihua was not in the auditorium. But when her name was spoken aloud in front of everyone, the expressions across the crowd shifted. "I don't hate her anymore. I just hope she can know one thing. I won't blame her. But I hope from now on, she never tears up any other child's essay again. Because that child might be just like me, carrying a person in their heart. Someone who might never come back. But their name deserves to be written down." Applause erupted from somewhere in the audience, and then it spread like ignited gunpowder. Students clapped. A few girls wiped away tears. In the parent section, several pairs of hands came together in rapid, resounding applause. Lin Xiaoman folded her paper, put it in her pocket, and bowed to the audience. She turned to walk off stage. From the wings, someone strode out quickly. It was Chen Lijun. He was wearing his police uniform, epaulets catching the light. He crossed the stage in a few long strides and came to a stop behind Lin Xiaoman. The applause in the audience pitched up into gasps of surprise. Chen Lijun didn't pick up the microphone. He stood beside Lin Xiaoman and spoke to the audience directly. "I am Comrade Lin Zhengwo's comrade-in-arms. On behalf of the Narcotics Enforcement Unit, I have one thing to say to everyone here. Comrade Lin Zhengwo was worthy of the badge on his shoulder, and he was worthy of every word his daughter wrote." The applause exploded again, even louder than before. Lin Xiaoman turned around to face him. Chen Lijun crouched down and said something into her ear, something only she could hear. "Your dad saw all of that just now. He says you did amazing." Lin Xiaoman smiled, and as she smiled, her tears fell. After the event ended, the parents in the audience dispersed. Students flooded out of the auditorium in a chattering swarm. Lin Xiaoman was immediately surrounded by her classmates. Wang Feifei pushed to the front and shoved a lollipop into her hand. For you. To celebrate your first big speech. Total success. Thanks. Lin Xiaoman took the candy, peeled off the wrapper, and bit into it. Boys crowded around behind her, craning their necks. A few of them pressed forward. Is your dad really from that narcotics unit?
Yeah.
So, do you want to be a cop when you grow up? Lin Xiaoman chewed her candy and thought about it. Yeah. Seriously? You're not scared of the danger?
I'm scared.
Lin Xiaoman smiled a little. But my dad said cops don't lie. I'm scared, but I still want to, because he was scared too. The boys exchanged glances. Then, in near unison, they shot her a big thumbs up. As the crowd thinned out, Lin Xiaoman spotted someone at the entrance of the auditorium. Zhao Lihua was standing at the bottom of the steps. She wasn't wearing the down jacket from before, just a plain gray sweater. She looked thinner, and the dark circles under her eyes were tinged with a bruised blue, as if she hadn't slept well in days. When Zhao Lihua saw Lin Xiaoman, she opened her mouth like she wanted to say something. In the end, she just pulled a letter from her pocket and held it out. Xiaoman, this letter. I wrote it for you. You don't have to read it right away. Just read it when you get home. Lin Xiaoman took the letter. She didn't open it. She just slipped it into the pocket of her backpack. Thank you, Teacher Zhao. Zhao Lihua froze. You don't hate me?
No.
Zhao Lihua's tears broke loose all at once. She scrubbed at her face, lowered her head, mumbled, I'm sorry, and turned and walked away. Lin Xiaoman watched her retreating figure. She said nothing. She walked to the school gate. Qin Huilan was standing by the old three-wheeled cart, waiting for her. From a distance, she spotted her daughter and waved. Mom, where's Uncle Chun? He had to leave early. Something came up at the unit, but he told me to pass on a message. Never take off your father's badge. Lin Xiaoman reached into her pocket and felt the badge, serial number 081234. The metal was cool and solid against her fingertips, like she was holding on to an entire mountain. Mom, let's go home. Okay. Qin Huilan mounted the cart. Lin Xiaoman jumped onto the back, gripping the frame with both hands. The three-wheeled cart rattled and bumped its way deeper into the alley. The setting sun stretched the shadows of mother and daughter into one long, unbroken line. At the end of that line was a window with a light already glowing inside. On the windowsill sat an old police hat. The badge on its brim glinted with flecks of gold. The badge numbered 081234 was now clipped to the zipper of Lin Xiaoman's backpack. It went with her to school every day, from home to school, and from school back home. No one said she was lying anymore. No one tore up her essays anymore. She sat at her desk, opened the craft paper-covered composition notebook, and began a new essay. The title was My Father's Badge. She wrote, Asterisk, my father's badge has 4 stars on it. But my dad said they're not stars. They're the promise he made to himself every time he went out on assignment, a promise to find his way back home. Asterisk. Asterisk, I never saw my father walk through the door, but I see that badge every single day. Asterisk. Asterisk, it's here. So he's here. Asterisk.